An elven warrior trapped on modern-day Earth. Two friends with different destinies meet at a magical school. These are some of the stories we at Electric Lips Comics are working on. You can get your copies of both The Mana Chronicles and Tales of Mithril at elpmerch.com. Support independent creators, explore the merch featuring exciting ELP Comics art with a wide range of designs. Electric Lips Comics. Imagination electrified.
Welcome to the Mostly Pod Out at Night. Mostly, I am Graveyard, joined by my co-host Salem.
Hello.
This is episode 131 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. Cloverfield took the box office by storm and inspired many filmmakers to copy the found footage monster movie template. And there are technically franchise sequels here, but they fall under what we call here the Hellraiser Syndrome sequels and are tangentially connected to the first film. So join us as we try to make sense of these Cloverfield tangents. So while there's only 3 mainline movies with sequels been promised to us since, let's face it, 2008.
Yeah, I could have swore they were doing like Cloverfield 2. Obviously not, but I could have swore. Yeah, I could have swore it was like in production at some point.
It's still in production. It's actually TBD. They're saying 2025 or 2026. And it's now called the Cloverfield Files because it has the comics. Apparently it has manga, and it has these 3 films, which are Cloverfield from 2008, 10 Cloverfield Lane from 2016, and Cloverfield Paradox from 2018. And it took 8 years for a sequel. I'm shocked at how well this movie did.
Well, again, I think it was just stuck in development hell. And then, like, Bad Robot was sitting on these other films. And they're like, hey, these are good films. Let's just slap on Cloverfield and put them in our franchise to keep the franchise alive. I think is what they did.
Well, I'd say definitely with the second one, for sure.
I mean, again, but these are like not bad scripts.
No.
These are like the decent films, and they just have these goofy tacked on endings.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre. Like I said, both of them have nothing to do with Cloverfield.
No.
Except when you get to the very end. And then all of a sudden they're tangentially connected.
Right. It's like we got a teaser trailer for something in the last 10 to 15 minutes of the movie.
Right.
Oh, sorry, 5 to 10 minutes.
Well, the third one is literally like the last 30 seconds.
Yes.
That's it. Everything else is not connected in any way.
Correct. But as we said, the Hellraiser Syndrome, because Hellraiser did it first.
Well, we saw it happen with Hellraiser first.
I'm not sure it happened in anything beforehand. We haven't hit it yet. Maybe
I'm sure there's stuff out there. Well, when we start getting to some of these other franchises, we'll see.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, so let's start off with Cloverfield from 2008, which is the only found footage movie in this Cloverfield Files. And is essentially, to make a long story short, it's what if Godzilla attacks New York City, but you're with a person in New York City with a camera. That's right. Essentially, it's that.
So it's like the Japanese guy that points and says Godzilla, like his story. That's like what this is. Right.
And we'll talk about the marketing. I guarantee in the highlights and low points. So,
yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
This was I think the first like ARG that I had really heard of.
Yeah,
I know they had some ones before that, but they were kind of lame. This was the one where I was like, I didn't really get heavy involved in it, but I remember people were getting crazy into it.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's a lot of monster-ish stuff that happens. We'll kind of go through this here. Essentially, we are meeting a going party for Rob, who is moving to Japan because you can't have a giant kaiju movie without something mentioning Japan. So, obligatory Japanese reference. And kind of stuff spread throughout. And we're introduced to his brother, to his girlfriend Lily, to Hud, who is our camera operator for most of the movie. Beth, who was this fling that Rob had like a month before going to Japan, and Marlene, right?
Marlena, played by the lovely Lizzie Kaplan.
Yes. This is our cast of characters, except for the couple people that we just go, oh shit, I recognize those people from.
There's one other person.
Yes. Theo Rossi, yes.
Juice.
Yes. And they're just figuring out like, oh, he's going away party. They're having this party that's going all hours of night, and he's like, okay. And they're just kind of doing like testimonials and stuff like that. We find out through HUD being the quintessential annoying as fuck camera guy in the found footage film. He does his part well. I'm not going to lie.
Well, that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. We find out that Rob slept with Beth and this whole other thing. While all this is going on there, all of a sudden, kind of an earthquake happens. And they all kind of rush outside going, holy shit. And, like, the city starts, like, blacking out. And then the explosions going on in New York City. This all take place in Manhattan, which is the island. And all of a sudden, like, the Statue of Liberty head just gets thrown down the street. It's like, oh, shit. They kind of hide in, the party disperses. We don't see anyone else from the party other than these cast of core characters.
Yeah, 5. It starts with 5.
Yeah.
And very shortly becomes 4.
Yes. Yeah. So they hide in the bodega as like, essentially the feel is September 11th in New York, right? With the just dust cloud that just goes through like downtown Manhattan and just covers everything. Eventually they're like, okay, shit, we gotta get out of here. Let's get off the bridge. We're following, the armed forces are, National Guard carded, I'd say, really damn fast. It's almost like they are tracking it this entire time. We get glimpses of this creature here and there as they're crossing one of the bridges. The brother gets up ahead. They kind of gets lost, and then a tail-like thing comes out and kills his brother, and he's dead. And they're escaping the bridge, and they kind of just figure out what the hell to do, and they all kind of start freaking out. At that about point in time, Robbie gets a call from Beth saying that she's like hurt and she needs to come save her. He's like, I gotta get Beth, blah blah blah.
Right, like okay. Just this situation is just goofy, right? Okay, so Beth and Rob have like this, one night stand that turns into like a beautiful day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he doesn't talk to her for a month.
Yep.
Okay. He explained, well, whatever, a little kind of gets spoilers for a little bit later. He doesn't talk to her because he knows he's moving to Japan and he doesn't want to start a big relationship right before he leaves.
Yes.
So she shows up to his going away party with a date.
Oh, trust me, that's on my list.
I'm just saying, and he has a meltdown.
Yes.
Right? Okay, like you didn't call her for a month. That's on you, dude. So then when she's dying, she calls him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I just want to stress that point. She doesn't have any family to call. Nope. The police. Nope. Anyone else. She's only calling him. Like, mm-hmm. How unfair is that to that dude?
Well, I mean, he's just the best ever, and he's been in love with her since college, and they're like what, 25.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like the story of like her doesn't make fucking sense to me, but whatever.
No. Essentially, they decide that they need to go get Beth while also escaping because let's face it, if they left at this point in time, they'd all live instead of going for Beth.
Oh, I mean, that's debatable. Where would they go?
I don't know. I'm sure lots of people escaped.
They blew up all the bridges.
That's true.
Where are you going to go?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you could go hide in a basement somewhere or something, but I mean, that's not, from what we see later on, that's not a guaranteed survival either.
That's true. Yeah, so anyway, as they're trying to figure out what to do, they hide underground in the tunnels, trying to figure out how to get Beth. They go down the tunnels, and well, let's call it Clover's lice attacks them. And poor Lizzie Kaplan gets bitten. They get kind of rushed to an area where then she just kind of explodes.
Yeah. I don't feel so good.
I'm bleeding from my eyes. Oh no. Boom, she's dead.
Terrible. Like, yeah, this was my introduction to Lizzie Kaplan. And I mean, yeah, I was like, wow, I need to follow her career wherever she goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was delightful, but yeah, she died horrible death.
Yeah, so they figure out like, hey, army dudes, we gotta get to Beth. Like, I don't know if I should do this, but I can't stop you. Well, you could. You have guns. You could.
Well, it's not the military's job to stop some dude from being dumb.
I know. So they eventually get to Beth's apartment, she lives on the 37th floor, and her apartment building is leaning against another building because it was destroyed.
Yeah, it's like Idiocracy, like the two buildings tied together.
Yeah.
It's like that.
So they go up the other building that's there, climb up to the rooftop, get over, and she is like impaled on rebar.
Right.
Like close, damn near the heart. Like if she was in, We Three Kings, she'd be dead. Because the guy that gets shot through the heart essentially just gets like a valve to release gases on him. But they manage to pull her off. Like, all right, cool, we're gonna make it here. Oh man, the army guy told us that there's helicopters leaving at 6 a.m. We gotta get there, and they get to a helicopter well before 6 a.m., like 3 a.m. And Lily goes on it, and she gets on one of the helicopters and leaves. Now, I'll get to that point later in my highlights and low points, because it took me until this time to watch this movie to realize something with her.
What, that the helicopter blew up?
It actually didn't.
Well, a helicopter blew up, and I think everybody assumed that was her helicopter.
Correct.
But it was like a good 30 seconds or so after her helicopter took off.
Yeah. So you assume it was hers.
Right. Again, well, you see helicopter go up, you see helicopter come down.
Right.
Right.
It was only in the special features to confirm that it was not her helicopter.
Yeah. No, I was watching because I assumed that she had died.
Yes.
And when I watch it this time, I'm like, I guess it's technically possible that she's alive.
Yeah. But it took me this long to realize that she lives. Officially in canon. So anyway, they're like, oh shit, that's not good. They're getting a helicopter, and they kind of crash and all survive. They must have been in the Mega Man level helicopters, which are just indestructible for anyone inside.
Well, yeah, you just got to jump before it hits the ground.
Right. So anyway, they're like, oh shit, they're gonna just bomb the place, because they thought they were escaped, because they saw, and the name is Clover of the creature, nicknamed, and it's like, oh, we destroy it. No, kills them. Comes after HUD because it cares about one tiny human, and essentially bites him in half. And then Rob and Beth are sharing an emotional spot under the bridge, realizing that they're going to die, and then the bombs go off, and they die. Lots of running around and screaming and panicking. I don't think I missed really anything major in there.
No, there's not really much that happens. It's just documenting them running away. It's essentially the film.
Right. And then we see the 3 weeks before Rob's going away party of the perfect day in the world with Rob and Beth.
Right.
Also, a potential satellite falling down in the last scene of the tape.
No, it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't the satellite, it was the thing.
Yes.
The ARG confirmed that.
Okay. So, kind of going to this, my first thought was, and I just, I looked it up because I was realizing, trying to figure out if Lily was alive or not, is that if you saw Transformers in theaters, we got the first part of the trailer in the Transformers movie as a trailer without a title. And then it came. I don't remember what the second movie is that they actually gave us the name of Cloverfield. But I'm gonna say that like the marketing team of this was like genius, and everyone was talking about Cloverfield before it even came out.
Yeah, they basically followed the Blair Witch school.
Yeah.
And yeah, they did a lot of cutting edge. Like I said, this was the first ARG that was like, I think, like had like a in-depth thing that people had built around it. There was a lot of shitty ones before then.
Mm-hmm.
They were usually either like stupid impossible or like just dumb. And this was the first one I think that was done well, at least for a film.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the ARG, this is what I got. I didn't follow too much into it, but this is what I got of it. One, Rob was moving to Japan to be vice president of that Slusho company.
Okay.
That Slusho company is technically responsible for the monster. Because the monster, if you're watching the very last scene of the film when they're looking out from the Ferris wheel,
mm-hmm.
you can see something fall into the ocean. That is the monster. Now, it falls down to the bottom of the ocean and it somehow gets infected by like industrial runoff from this Slusho company. And that's what makes it so big. It's something stupid like
so
that.
Kind of like the Korean movie The Host.
Right. So, but anyway, it's like trying to show you that there's parts of the film that you don't think are related that kind of are related. That was like why he's going to Japan, what company he works for, like how the monster got the way that it did, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the ARG just kind of filled in some of those stupid blanks. I may be getting them wrong because I didn't follow the whole thing. I just got the gist of it,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I gathered from it. If you pay attention in the Cloverfield Paradox, there is a little tiny scene where they show the little mascot of Slusho in there. That's really the only tie-in previous to the ending that they have. It's just that's all there really is. But ARG was interesting, at least not interesting enough for me to actually follow through it because it was like timed. A lot of it was timed.
Yeah. I mean, I think the first time I saw this, I thought this was like, we had Blair Witch, fantastic found footage, and this was like a high budget found footage, and I think it was done right.
Yeah, there was definitely some in between there. But I don't think it was actually done well, big budget well until Cloverfield.
Right. Like I said, we talked about the rewatches. That I always assumed that Lily died. Always.
Yeah, I remember there was people at the end trying to say that one of the either Beth or Rob or both of them survived.
Well, because they said they heard it's still alive, which was like reversed. So I don't think it was them.
Well, I'm just saying somebody said it at the end of the credits, but like, I don't know. We didn't really get an answer. I don't know. I didn't go into the comics and shit. I don't know. Maybe they talked about it there. I don't know.
It's possible, but for movie wise, I mean, we still knew, especially with you doing the ARG, we still know enough about behind the scenes stuff without going into the whole Cloverfield files.
Right.
Do you want to do your highlights first?
Sure. We pretty much talked. I mean, I like the presentation of it. How they was kind of like, documented as evidence from the military. I thought that was fun. That's why they just give you here. It's just everything here. We're not cutting anything. It's just this everything that was on this stupid fucking thing, the SD card or whatever. I thought that was great. Again, this was my introduction to both Lizzie Kaplan and T.J. Miller.
I mean, it's everyone's introduction to T.J. Miller,
right? But I was like, I thought T.J. Miller was great. He was the annoying but funny, and I thought Lizzie Kaplan was great. She was funny, witty. Again, she's continued to be that throughout her career. But that was my introduction to her. I don't know if she was in anything before that.
Mean Girls.
Oh, well, I guess I technically did see that. But I try to forget. Anyway, and then the ARG backstory thing. Again, I wasn't
Mhm.
fully involved in it. Do not quote me. I'm not telling you these things are fact. I'm just saying I did. This is what I gathered from it. I may have gathered the wrong information. I don't know. Maybe I got the false ARG. I don't know.
Oh, you get the FARC.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I don't know. I don't know. They go in wacky fucking directions, and I wasn't that involved to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was interesting. But yeah, that's all I really got. We got.
Oh yeah, same thing. I think for a found footage movie, it did phenomenal. Like we watch a lot of found footage, and for a high budget found footage, not like a $10,000, $15,000 budget, it's solid as a movie. Like I said, we already talked about the marketing. Like I said, I also have Lizzie Kaplan on here as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think she is like the perfect, funny, sarcastic person.
Right.
You know, yeah, TJ Miller. Even while watching my, I was like, this is the only thing like TJ Miller in. I go, it's not true. You liked him in other things. You just don't remember him from other things.
Right. Yeah. Like you watch it, you're like, oh wow, I forgot he was in this. There's like so many things that I've watched. I'm like, oh wow, poor TJ Miller.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess not poor. He did it to himself, but
yeah. But like I said, we talk about because it's brought up Underwater. Underwater is a hugely underrated movie.
It is. And I think he was part of that because it came out after he had his freak out. And again, like people still to this day think that Kristen Stewart is a bad actress. She's not. She just, again, could care fucking less about the Twilight series. So yeah, she sucked in it knowingly.
Yeah.
So did Pattinson. Both of them are excellent actors outside of that franchise. But yeah. I think Pattinson has pretty much earned his chops. But I think he's gotten over it.
Yes.
But I don't think she really has. I mean, she's done a lot of great, crazy things since then. Great performances. And people still are like, I just don't like her. Like,
yeah.
You're smoking crack.
And, honestly, as we're talking about Underwater, I'm like, you could have said this was part of the Cloverfield franchise. And be like, all right.
Right. It would have made sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would easily just put a Cloverfield instead of Cthulhu and bam.
Yep. They could have done the Hellraiser Syndrome with that and been fine.
Right. That one wouldn't have felt as tacked on as some of these other ones.
Right. Like I said, and then finding out that Lily lives, like, holy crap, I thought for 16 years she died.
No. Oh, wow. The most annoying one out of all of them survived. Yay.
Yeah. All right. I will move on to the low points for me. I understand that tapes cost money, but if this is the most important day for your brother, get a new tape. You didn't have to tape over his perfect day.
Okay. If somebody hands you a camera and goes, oh, just walk around and record everybody, are you going to check the fucking tape?
I'm saying, like, the way, as much as Lily seems to really care about her boyfriend's brother, she would have gotten a new tape.
Again, why the tape was obviously rewound.
Yeah.
So, like, again, if you have a rewound tape, you pull out the tape is all the way on the left, right? Oh, it's a fresh tape. Why would you think otherwise?
I guess the other thing is don't leave tapes that you want to save in a tape recorder.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like, this is still tapes.
Yeah.
They're not doing SD cards. SD cards just append, right?
Yes.
But tapes, if you rewind, you will tape over them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't think that anybody's fault there. I think it's, if you bought a camera and filmed a bunch of shit and you want to save the tape, take the tape out.
And label it.
Right. It's your own fault for rewinding it and leaving it in there.
Yeah. This next point sparked a discussion between the wife and I. Yes, it's been 3 weeks since this whole thing. We talked about, Rob's take of it. But if she thought there was something there, don't bring another guy to the party. Don't even fucking go to the party for Beth.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, yeah, if you want him to again, this is, the game of love, right? All's fair in love and war. And if you want, I'm not saying it's correct. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it is a common understanding of people that if you want somebody back, you make them jealous. And that's what she was doing. Again, this is young stupid people. Well, you know what I mean? Young, hormonal, dumbass people. This is the kind of shit that you do. If you let your hormones tell you what to do, this is what you do.
I guess.
So yeah, she brought the guy there to make him jealous, to get a reaction out of him. That's what she did. She dropped that other dude in a fucking heartbeat. As soon as he's like, "You want to go talk?" She's like, "Yep." She's like, "Go get me a drink. Let's go talk." Like immediately, no hesitation.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she wanted to happen.
It's still a dick move.
Oh yeah, it sucks. Yeah, but again, we're talking young love. It's nothing but dick moves.
Yeah. The Statue of Liberty head size, way too small.
Way too small. How big do you think the Statue of Liberty is?
Someone could stand inside the crown.
Yeah,
they couldn't. This J.J. Abrams has even admitted that the head size is too small. Like the head's
it's
bigger,
not, but it's not like ridiculously small. It's not. The Statue of Liberty is not that big.
Yeah,
like you can fit like 3 or 4 people in the crown. It wasn't like you can fit like 100 people in there.
Hey, 4 Ghostbusters and NES stick can fit in there. All right,
right, exactly. Like it took up an entire like street.
And then I'll call it the clover lice.
Yeah, those are gross, man.
They did Lizzie Kaplan dirty. I'm sorry. They don't.
Well, somebody had to die. It should have been Lily.
I agree.
I'm not going to take that. It should have been Lily. Her fucking boyfriend already died anyway.
Yeah. And and also the last thing is like, yeah, I have brothers, and I would find it very weird that if I had a brother and my girlfriend was just like really like, I would almost say obsessed of making my brother happy. It's weird in my head. I don't know why.
Wait, what?
Like Lily is like way too like nice to Rob. I feel. I don't know. That's just in my head.
I think you just have a fucked up family.
That's entirely possible too.
I think like all the brothers and sisters-in-law fucking are scheming and trying to fuck everybody over is what I think is going on.
Oh yeah.
But
that's entirely possible.
I'm making up stories, but you know what I'm saying. But I think it's just, I mean, maybe, but like some people are like that. Some people just want people to be happy, and if they see somebody is not making themselves happy, they try to do things to make them happy.
Yeah. But those are my other points. Obviously, I'll stretch for a couple of those. How about you?
All right. I mean, we've already touched on both of these things, but we'll say the 2008 phones were hilarious. I mean, we're talking, like razors and like those little pill phones and like the goof, like, early Blackberries and shit.
You're talking about like the woman that was recording like on a Tamagotchi.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The fuck is this? And I'm like, again, it's like, this is the very beginning of like everybody has to film everything all the fucking time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we do see people filming like the Statue of Liberty head and like the bridge. It's still not widespread. It's still a small minority. It's not everybody. Like nowadays, like literally you see like pictures of like people at concerts and like every single fucking person is just holding up their phone recording the fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
No one is like paying attention or actually like enjoying the moment. They're all just like recording it.
To the point where a lot of bands say no cell phones.
Right. Like I really can't go to concerts anymore. I can't do it. I used to do it all the time. I used to go to at least one a week. I can't even go anymore because it is so annoying. And like people are sorry, this is my own rant. The phone thing and the thing that I fucking hate the most is everybody's got to sing along to everything. Like, shut the fuck up. You're here to pay for these people to play their music. I don't want to hear your singing at the top of your fucking lungs with the song. I don't care if you know it. Just shut up. Anyway, so I also put the bug things on here because I don't like those bug things. And, and not only is it like nasty bug things, which are terrifying, right? But then they bite you and they like inject you with, I don't know, head exploding poison. I don't know what the fuck happened to her. She blew up. It's
almost like she got infected and like another lice came out of her.
It's a possibility. I don't know. I know that she got like this nasty bite, and then like within like I don't know what 4 hours she like died.
She exploded violently.
Exploded, yeah. Like that's fucked up.
Yeah,
and that's terrible. But yeah, that's all I got.
All right. So our olives this week are number of tacked on franchise scenes because Hellraiser Syndrome is strong with this franchise.
Yeah.
Salem, how many tacked on franchise scenes do you give this out of 10?
No, this one's tough. I do like Cloverfield, but there's a lot of I don't know how much I like it. I guess is the thing. But I do like it. I have rewatched it several times. I won't say it's one of my favorite movies, but I have rewatched it. So 7.75.
And that's fair because, I don't think I've ever done all three of these in a row except for this episode like this.
Well, yeah, it's not like you're keeping with a theme. They're literally three completely separate films,
right? And that's the thing. Like, I'm looking at what comes next. I know that's probably my highest rated one, so I have to keep that in mind with Reign of Cloverfield. So I will give this 8.5. I really enjoyed the movie. I like found footage when done really well, and this is definitely one of them. I think found footage is a hard thing for people to do correctly.
right?
So that's why I'm giving 8.5 tacked on franchise scenes. All right, so take us through 10 Cloverfield Lane from 2016.
Okay. This one is probably not going to be very long because I guess there's not really a whole lot that happens
No.
in the film. It's more like atmosphere and suspense, which I can't really describe. But anyway, so very beginning of the film, Ramona, or Mary Elizabeth Winstead as her real name, she is like going through a musical montage, and she's basically like leaving her fiance or husband. I don't know.
Ben.
Yeah. So, but she's taking off a ring. She's putting it down. She's leaving the keys. Right. She's leaving for good. She's packing a box. She's getting in her car. She's out. Right. She's driving, and like Ben keeps calling, and she answers, and he's like, "Yo, you got to come back." And she just doesn't even say anything. She just hangs up.
Yep.
And then she's run off the road.
Yep.
Cars spinning around, smash, smash, smash. She wakes up, in a bunker underground. She's in what appears to be a jail cell. It's literally a cot on the ground with an IV hook and an IV in her, and that's it. She has like a knee brace on because her knee was injured, and she's like handcuffed to the wall, and that's it. Slowly we figure out that John Goodman is the guy, Howard, who owns this bunker. And he essentially tells her that he saved her life, that, she was in an accident. He saved her life, and that the outside is poisoned in some way, either nuclear fallout or chemical gas, whatever it is.
Or Russians, whatever.
Right. Whatever happened, you can't go outside because it'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And, so he's like carefully like explaining that to her. She does not believe him in any way.
Well, it's a hard thing to believe.
Correct. Yeah, that's a hard thing to do if you haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So she finally, builds up enough trust to like come out of the cell. She finds there's another guy there as well, Emmett, who's kind of like a dumb country boy with a good heart. Right.
I've only lived outside this 40 miles.
Right. So he was a guy that had helped Howard build this underground bunker. So when the shit hit the fan, he came here.
Mm-hmm.
And and Howard let him in, and he injured himself trying to get in, so his arm is like in a sling.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of time of her trying to escape, her not trusting him, her there's a lot of suspense, like what's going on, is he telling the truth, is he not telling the truth? And he shows her outside. There's like these two pigs that are like diseased and like looks like they blew up from the inside, right outside the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, okay, she kind of thinks that he did those on purpose to like keep them down there, right? Because he's like very kind of creepy and weird with how he talks to her and communicates to her. Like he treats her like a child when she's an adult woman. So anyway, so there's a point where, she hears a car above a couple of times, and then she hears the car again. And so she steals his keys kind of knocks him out with a bottle and then goes up to see who's up there to like hopefully try to escape, right? She unlocks the door to the inner airlock door and then gets to the outer door, and there's a lady out there who is like obviously fucked up.
Yes.
She's got like chemical burns all over her face, and she's like, trying to be nice at first, and once she's not opening the door, she starts like screaming and yelling and swearing at her. Like there's obviously something fucked up. So after that point, she kind of comes to the realization that, okay, he is telling the truth. Something bad is going on out there. So she just kind of like rolls with it. So there's, montage of them like putting together a puzzle, making dinner, watching movies together. Like they're all kind of like getting along. Until we get to a point where their air filter system breaks. And so she has to crawl through this like vent because she's the only one that'll fit in this vent to get to the system to reset it so that they can all breathe, because otherwise they'll run out of air. I guess previous to this, I should mention that he said that he had a daughter that, he used to live with him, but like, he got a divorce and the wife turned the daughter against him, so he hasn't seen her in a long time, but he still has some of her stuff. So he gives like the girl stuff to Ramona.
Yeah.
Right. So when she goes in there, she, sees that there's another hatch in this other room with the, air filtration. And she sees that somebody carved help into the, the little window thing. And there's blood on it. And she finds an earring, and the earring matches an earring from the picture that he showed her of his daughter.
Yep.
And so she goes, back down there, and then she ends up getting and showing the picture to Emmett. And Emmett says that, oh, that's not his daughter. That's a girl that disappeared from local town about 2 years ago. And so at that point, they realize, okay, like there may be some fucked up stuff going on outside, but he is still a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
So, they kind of assume that he kidnapped her and eventually must have killed her because she's not there. And she never, and she asked, like, did she ever show back up in town? And he's like, no.
And he goes, by the way, here's my big vat of dissolving liquid.
Yeah. So, well, basically, so at that point, she is basically, because she's like a fashion designer.
Mm-hmm.
So she makes herself a suit, a hazmat suit in secret, because obviously she doesn't want Howard to know that she's going to leave because he'll freak out.
Right.
So eventually he finds, like scissors and a piece of stuff that she was using, and he accuses them of conspiring against him. And so Emmett, in his infinite wisdom, takes the blame and goes, oh no, it was me. And he's like, okay, what were you doing with it? I was going to try to steal your gun. What? Genius movement. What the fuck is wrong with you? So of course, now that he, he's like, oh, but I'm sorry. I wasn't, I didn't do it. So he shoots him in the head. Howard shoots Emmett in the head and then puts him in this vat of acid.
Yep.
So at that point, obviously, Ramona is now like really upset. Like it's like, okay, I got to try to get the hell out of here. So she tries to get away. He's trying to stop her. She ends up dumping over the acid. He like falls in the acid and gets burned. He's still chasing her. She like, puts him underneath the shelf of all his supplies, and he still manages to get out. Anyway, so she, starts like a fire. She lights the acid on fire and then escapes, knowing that, either he's going to burn in there or he's going to have to open the door and come out. So she escapes through the hatch using that freeze trick that he showed her earlier. I don't know how that would work, but sure.
Canned air is just as powerful to cool your moonshine as is to break a fucking deadbolt.
Right, yeah, like metal, like, yeah, you can do that with liquid nitrogen. That is the thing, but you can't, like, you don't have liquid nitrogen in a can. I'm sorry.
No, that's compressed air.
Right, yeah, like, yeah, it'll get really cold, but it ain't like break metal cold. Sorry.
Right.
But anyway, whatever. She gets out, she goes outside with the suit. There's a, she gets outside, she finds the truck or whatever where she's trying to escape. And then she realizes that there's like an alien spaceship. Okay. And the alien spaceship like spots her and whatever. They go back and forth, like it's spewing out like gases. So she has her hazmat suit. She finds out that the air is fine before this point.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it sees her and it starts spewing this green stuff out, she puts the hazmat back on. And anyway, back and forth. And then she ends up making a Molotov out of a bottle of scotch and throws it into the squid mouth of the spaceship, and it blows up.
Mm-hmm.
And then she like gets in her car and drives, and then she hears on the radio that like they're fighting back, they need help. So she decides to go help.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole film.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously we're getting to the highlights and low points, but what was your first thoughts of this movie? Do you recall seeing it for the first time?
I mean, the first time, I was excited for the movie. I just did not understand how they were going to try to make this a Cloverfield. Like, I remember being like, oh, it's a Cloverfield movie. Like, what do you mean? Like, like very clearly in the, the preview or the trailer, it was like, it's John Goodman and two people stuck in a bunker underground. Like, what's Cloverfield about this?
Mm-hmm.
So I watched it. I'm like, it's a great movie. There's no Cloverfield in it at all. I guess we're supposed to understand that, like, oh, the spaceships are part of the Cloverfield invasion or whatever, but like we don't see the same monster as Cloverfield. We don't even see the same bug things as Cloverfield.
No. Like
there's nothing that connects this to the first film other than the title of the film. And J.J. Abrams promising that it does.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, there's really not much there. So that was basically what I got. It was a great film, not a Cloverfield film.
Correct. I don't disagree. It is a fantastic movie, and I agree. It's just the tacked on part of it just doesn't make any sense. It honestly doesn't need it. But it's a good like psychological thriller, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean for sure. There's again, it's got that great stuff that thrillers always have. Is that you learn a little bit, oh shit, and then he gets diffused. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You learn a little bit more, oh shit, then it gets diffused. Okay, maybe not. I don't know where we're going, but it continues moving in that direction, right? There's like steps.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it does the same thing. It's the same thing that all they do. Although it's like again, it heavily relies on the performances of the people in the film, right? Because there's only 3 people in the film.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 4 if you count the lady that dies out the door, but she's like literally there for 5 seconds. But yeah, we have, John Goodman. I mean, can you imagine if John Goodman didn't play like a kind of like, dopey sometimes, but intimidating at other times kind of guy? Like, if it wasn't John Goodman, it might have been terrible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I agree. He nails it. So.
Right.
All right. I'll do my highlights first if you'd like.
Sure.
All right. Obviously, John Goodman, as we just said. He nails it. I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead does a phenomenal job as well.
Correct.
Let's just say the cast is strong.
Well, yeah, the other Emmett is like a perfect kind of dopey country guy, but that's what he's supposed to be. He plays his role perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And essentially, it's almost like a one room movie. It's almost a bowel episode, right?
Yeah, almost right.
And you feel like you're in that bunker with them. And you can see like how strange it could be, like how long they're gonna be down there for. I like that it was the thriller part of it. It was is Howard correct or not? Is he lying or not? What's he telling the truth about? What's he lying about? Because he's telling truths from his point of view, right? I mean, obviously something fucked up is happening. We don't know what.
Right. Well, yeah. Every time they think they know what's happening, like, they get more information and it gets diffused, right? And then it
Mhm.
just keeps progressing until we get to the, oh, the girl in the picture that he said was his daughter is not his daughter.
Right.
And that earring that was in that picture was used to carve help into the window. Like, obviously something happened.
Right. Do you spend time with a psychotic at best just to stay alive from the unknown outside?
Right.
What's the worst? What's the worst evil?
I don't know. I mean, at that point, who knows, right? If you know for a fact there's fucked up shit outside, what do you do?
Right. Like, as long as you stay on Howard's good side, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. I mean, Howard was volatile. I mean, again, would I think that on a long enough timeline he would have killed them anyway? Most likely, yes.
Yeah. But that also raises the question was, he admits that she realizes that it was his truck that hit her off road. Do you think he hit her on purpose?
Probably. And again, we already know that he abducted another girl. So, like, how do we know that wasn't how he abducted the other one?
Right. We don't know that. And that's kind of left as an open-ended question. Like, he admits, yeah, I was just trying to get here. I was out of my way. I know, so I hurt you. But did he pull a Kathy Bates, in Misery? The way he is, it's entirely possible he scoped her out and realized that he wanted to take her. We don't know. And that's kind of like a terrifying question to ponder, too.
I think it might have been both. I think it might have been him actually rushing back to his bunker to hide.
And then seeing her.
But then seeing her and realizing he's going to be alone in that bunker for like years. So he wanted company.
Right.
So, again, a tag of opportunity.
Yeah. I just thought that is a great play. As you said, the back and forth is just perfect. Mm. And I said, you really didn't know if he was telling the truth or not. You could easily thought that maybe the woman outside, that he had some sort of trap that sprayed chemicals on people as they got close to the bunker. It's entirely possible. I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, but again, you have Emmett, who is obviously not in cahoots with Howard.
Right.
Backing up his story about something killing people out there.
Yeah.
So, obviously there was.
Yeah.
But again, they didn't know what it was. And again, whatever. I mean, it's a lot of back and forth, and there's still a lot of unknowns. We don't know everything.
Correct. So I enjoy that. Those are my highlights. How about you?
We already talked about John Goodman, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Again, the pacing, the tension, the suspense was great. I mean, it just keeps getting you to different levels all the time. It's like twists and turns and all that fun thriller stuff. I think it did a great job with that. I like the mystery part of it. With Howard and other girls and his daughter, and like a lot of the stuff it's messed up. And again, like, who knows what else was even down there? I mean, who knows? I mean, what other women he's had down there? We don't know. Could have been a lot more. No idea. But that's all I got for high points. Or I'll go with my low points here. Emmett's. I don't know how dumb you have to be, like to basically. He could have said anything.
Yep.
Like, like I was trying to make a rain hat. I mean, who the fuck? Whatever. You could have said anything dumb thing. He already thinks you're dumb. You know what I mean? It's not going to change the fact. When you say, I'm going to try to take your gun, like, you are now threatening him.
Yep.
Like, what do you think is going to fucking happen, dude? I don't know. Yeah. It's just like, Emmett, what the fuck is wrong with you?
The correct answer would be, she likes to make clothes and she's making clothes.
Right.
That explained a lot of things that happened the rest of the movie.
Or again, why wouldn't she say something like, hey, we're making this in case we ever have a leak or something. Or in case, the air filtration system goes off again and somehow we have to like go around to turn it off. He's like, I'm just getting ahead of it to prepare.
Yep.
I don't think he would be against that.
No.
As long as they're not actively trying to leave. She's like, I'm just making, I think he can be reasoned with. They just avoided that. Which you're in that small, of a thing, and he's as paranoid and suspicious as he is. I mean, the likelihood of you hiding that is pretty low.
Right.
But yeah, of course, the ending is fucking tacked on, right? The ending.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the original ending of this film was. Maybe it was just her going outside and realizing that he was lying the whole time. I don't know. I don't know what the original ending was. But it wasn't that.
No.
I can tell you that. But I think it just felt tacked on. It felt like, oh, this is Cloverfield. But again, other than people telling us it's Cloverfield and it being in the title, how would you know that? Because got these spaceships and the thing that was chasing her are in no way look similar or related to the other film.
Right.
Like, how would you wouldn't know that unless you were told that. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to make a sequel, like at least show the monster in the background or something. Mm-hmm. They didn't even bother. And then the thing that I have a big problem with is that's not how a Molotov works.
What?
Like, you can't just take a bottle of liquor and stuff a magazine page in it, light it on fire, and then have it explode like a fucking grenade. That's not how Molotovs work. One, you don't use liquor, you use gasoline or you use something else. And it like the more effective, like just gases will make a fire, but it won't explode. You want it to explode, you'd have to mix other shit in there. I just thought it was very lazy. Like, they didn't even if you're gonna have the heroine win with a Molotov, like, why don't you look up what a fucking Molotov is?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was not correct in any way. So yeah, I mean, the ending itself, the whole goofy action sequence was just dumb, and the Molotov was just the crown on top of that, king shit. Mm-hmm. That's all I got. What do you
got? Yeah, the first biggest thing I wrote in the largest series does not need to be a Cloverfield movie.
No.
At all. As I said, it goes into the last 10 minutes and aliens and all that shit. I just point out with don't fucking mess with Howard. Just don't. Like, you survive better if you just
right. Again, at that point, it's his fucking bunker. He's already shown that he's insecure about you doing anything that takes his power away.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why mm-hmm. would you do that? Why would you make yourself a threat? You were not a threat before that point. Now you are.
Yeah.
Just dumb.
Yeah. And okay, so as the guy said that girl disappeared like 2 years ago. So, do you think he was using her as a preparation for a bunker, or do you think he was just living in that bunker regardless?
He was just living in that bunker with her regardless because she was trapped in there and couldn't get out.
Right. Now, do you think this all stemmed from his wife actually leaving her, or is this why the wife left?
No, I think it was him coping with his daughter being gone.
Yeah.
I don't think he was like doing serial killer rapey stuff with them. I think it was just a control thing.
Yeah.
He just wanted a daughter that would listen to him and be the daughter he wanted her to be. Again, we saw that, he refused to see Ramona as an adult woman.
Right.
Because he kept calling her a girl.
Kid, yeah.
Again, he was trying to play, what were they playing? Fucking charades or something?
Yeah.
And he was trying to get him to guess Little Women. And he's like, oh, Ramona, what is she? And he's like, girl. Child. Yeah. Stuff like that. Like, she's an adult woman. Like, what do you mean child? And again, you can see the look on her face, like, the fuck you mean child? Like, yeah, he was just incapable of seeing her as anything other than a daughter surrogate.
Right. And I feel like they provoked him way too much, way too early.
Yeah. And it got creepy because after Emmett died, he shaved and started dressing nicer and stuff. Like, okay. Like what kind of daughter situation is this going here?
Yeah, like I said, I don't think if I was supposedly rescued and you saw that stuff and talking about the world's best sauce, that was just stupid on their part to be that brazen.
Well, he was just dumb. He was just trying to to be on his good side in the dumb country boy way, and it's either all or nothing, right? She was deliberately trying to fuck with him.
Right. Don't do that. Don't.
I agree.
Don't mess with Howard. Yeah, it just goes back to that point. So that's all I have. I will go first for a number of tacked on franchises. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoy 95% of this movie.
Yeah, it is. It is an amazing film until the ending, and the ending is very out of place.
Mm-hmm. So if the ending was different, if the ending was original, I would dare say this would be a perfect 10. In my opinion. I'm going to go to 9.5 though out of 10. How about you?
I won't go that high. I mean, it is a great film. I think the ending takes a lot of that away. I'll go 8.5.
8.5. Now, if the ending was different, would it be a 10 or a lot closer?
I don't think it would be a 10.
No, like I said, I think John Goodman's performance, like you expect him to be this goofy guy. Like you don't ever expect John Goodman to be like that serious, like serial killer, and he nailed it.
Yeah. No, I've seen him in serious roles, and he's a great actor all around. I mean, again, it's always great actors that have great comedic timing as well, because they're good performers in general. But I mean, yeah, he's done a lot of comedy stuff because he can fill that role.
Right.
But he also does a lot of serious stuff, and he's always fantastic at just about everything he does.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't really a villain in Red State, was he?
No, he was like the sheriff guy.
Yeah. But for him to play a villain, I think is rare. If I recall correctly.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That's you're wrong. I'm just saying I've seen him in other serious roles, and it's a great role. He does. It is a great film overall.
Yeah.
Again, I wouldn't put it that high.
So that's all right. All right, now we'll get into the last one, which was dropped Super Bowl, I believe, in 2018.
Yeah, something like it was like last minute, and it's a Netflix exclusive, which is very odd. Yeah, but it was like just dropped out of nowhere. And this one is even worse with the tacked on.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
So like, I guess it's better. And I guess we're ruining the ending. Sorry, we'll get there. But this one is better with, it actually shows a Cloverfield monster, at least. But it literally only has a connection to Cloverfield in the last 30 seconds of the film.
Other than the
little slusho, other than the little slusho guy, that is the only other attachment to the first film, and that's not even really an attachment to the first film. That's an attachment to like the ARG attached to the first film.
Yes,
like you have to be involved in the franchise to know what that is.
Yeah. So they said 2018. I know I watched this as soon as it aired, as soon as it was released.
Well, yeah, because it was on Netflix. Yeah.
So we're going into a hugely sci-fi direction of the Cloverfield Files with this one, and essentially it is the distant future where it's like 5 years left before like all natural resources are out, like power grid, gas.
That ain't that distant of a future, brother.
I know that, but I'm saying we haven't been able to build a like CERN in space yet, so but essentially we meet a really global team of people up and essentially trying to figure out a way to like tear open and get always talk about like the quantum mechanics and quantum physics of all that. You can take energy from a different dimension and just have free power. And it's essentially what they're trying to do.
It's a super they're building a super collider in space that's like so big that they're afraid that if it was on the planet Earth and something went wrong, it would destroy the planet. Yes. That's how big of a problem is. That's why they put it in space. But if this thing gets stabilized, they have a template to start building unlimited energy, which will solve their energy crisis.
Essentially like the Tony Stark arc reactors.
Yes, that's like basically what it is. Yeah, because once the arc reactor starts going, it's producing more energy that it's taking in. So that's essentially it. If you can get some kind of reaction to produce more power than it uses to make that power, then you've now basically solved the energy crisis.
Right. Cold fusion. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's literally it. Because if you can have a fusion reaction happen at a low enough temperature where you don't need fucking giant radioactive steam fucking, towers to cool it down, then yeah.
Right. So they've been up there almost 2-ish years. Close to 2 years. I think like 700 days. They said,
Right.
and they're like, they only have like enough power to do like 3 more permutations of it. We get the title by Damal Downhill, or what's his name? The bad guy from Blade that gets his hand chopped off. Comedian. But anyway, he's talking about like the Cloverfield paradox, where they're concerned with the fact they're trying to take this energy from like a different space-time dimension or stuff like that, that they're going to create the Cloverfield paradox.
He's just giving you
exposition dump. Yeah.
Yeah, he's giving you pseudoscience trash to give you a reason to suspect what's happened.
Right. Essentially, he's like, we may open the portal to hell and monsters. Yep, there's a tie-in. You can tell that was shot after the fact. And they're working on it. They have like one more firing, and they were able to successfully do it, but then they had the vent. And then kind of like everything goes dark. Right? And they essentially get everything back up.
If they fire it, it starts functioning, and then it overloads, and then shuts down.
Yeah.
And then when it shuts down, like they all get like this wave of like weird shit happened. Right? They all feel weird, like everything feels like something shifted or changed. They all feel strange. Blah blah blah. So like everybody starts getting a little wacky. The Russian like engineer guy starts like feeling weird and like he's got something inside of his body and he's like twitching all over kind of thing. And something seems like it's like controlling him. Anyway, yeah. The worms, I don't know what the worms were doing.
Everyone brings worms to space to see how they react in space. And that was just like a thing we did in the 70s and 80s, which doesn't need to continue to be a thing.
I don't know. It's because it was right next to like the hydroponic like air scrubber.
You know what? Ooh.
I think they might have been doing something with it. Maybe it was like recycling waste or something.
It probably was, and honestly, it's probably where they got their carbon molecules needed for their 3D printer.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I think they had a purpose anyway, but they disappeared as part of the shift. Like, their gyro that was, I don't know what the fuck it was even supposed to do.
The gyro was its way to keep them, quote, upright. And it also says essentially their fancy compass is a way to determine their position in space relative to Earth.
Right. But like, what?
Also needed for
You're telling me on that giant fucking station, they have no other way to triangulate a fucking position other than this magic gyro device.
Correct. Because
I was so confused.
There's not like there's stars out there you can pinpoint.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So they lost Earth. They can't find Earth. And they have no other way to. They go, oh, let's use let's try to check our position. Oh, we can't. The magic gyro's gone. Where is it? I don't know. It's gone. It's like mysteriously missing.
Earth's not there either.
Yeah. So anyway, crazy Russian guy like 3D prints himself a gun, and then starts like threatening other people because he's like hearing voices from somewhere. We don't really get any information as what he's hearing or what's going on.
Well, the worms are talking to him.
Yeah. So anyway, he basically like, has a stroke, it looks like, and then he like explodes worms.
Yep.
And then like, weird wacky stuff is happening around the ship. Like the one, the Irish technician guy gets his arm stuck, and then like they pull him out and his arm is just gone. He doesn't feel any pain, and like there's no blood or anything. It's just like not there.
But
anymore.
Like perfectly cut.
Right.
It's not like there's just skin over the stump. No, it's
just gone. Yeah. But he doesn't feel any pain or anything. It's just not there anymore.
Yep.
Then they find it later and it's moving on its own.
And he's not even controlling.
Yeah, he's not even controlling it. So they kept it, and then they find out that
well, they find a woman in the wall.
Well, yeah, I was going to talk about that after because that leads into the next part. So anyway, so the arm, like, they give it a marker and it writes down, cut open the Russian guy. They cut open the Russian guy. They find the magic gyro inside of his body. So they put the gyro back. They figure out, we're, just on the other side of the sun. Earth is, right over there. Okay, great. And then they hear, like you said, somebody in the walls. So they hear screaming noise in the walls. They open up the wall panel, and there's a woman stuck in the wall. Like pipes and wires are like fused into her body.
Right. She clearly is in the same quantum space as the
Right.
wall.
Yeah. So like at this point, we're pretty much, I guess proven that, there's some kind of like dimensional shift that happened here.
Mm-hmm.
So they
he talks about she was on that ship. Like, I don't know who the Renslayer is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she knows who everybody is, and she knows the main character lady, but she was like, you were on Earth. Like you
Right.
were our liaison on Earth. You weren't up here with us. But everybody else she knows except for the Chinese lady, and that's because that was her position.
Right.
So anyway, and we basically figure out that we've switched dimensions.
Yep.
And so in their dimension, the Cloverfield, the tower thing blew up and crashed to the planet. So everybody else in that world is dead except for her. She somehow shifted into the wall of
right.
the
her Earth is much worse.
Well, yeah, they figured out that the Earth, that once they establish communications with Earth again, they find out that there's a war that's been going on for like over a year.
Yep.
That they're all fighting over stuff, and they find out like different things. Like the one German like physicist guy in their dimension, he was a spy that was deliberately not letting the machine work
until Russia like collapses under German rule.
Right. Yeah. So then, they accuse him of being a spy, and then he realized that like that was from the other dimension. Again, there's a bunch of weird fucking wacky shit going back and fucking forth. But essentially, what happens is they all decide that they're gonna hit the thing again and go back to their own dimension
and try the woman on like a jet bat, escape pod.
Right. But they have to get the thing working first, obviously, to go back. Right. So they're working on getting it to work. They figure out what the problem was. They had to like vent water or something before then.
Right.
So they figure out, okay, that's what we have to do. We're going to do that. And then as they're about to do that, the lady that was in the wall kind of like decides that she's going to like take everything for herself.
Right. The Asian woman, she gets frozen and drowns and frozen in space.
Right.
But essentially, you get the spaceship is getting destroyed piece by piece. You have to jettison pieces off. Your typical like horror movie in space where like you have to people sacrifice themselves to.
Right. Now I have a long list of questions here. I'm not going to go over them now. We'll go over them in a minute. But there's like, to me, from this point forward, the movie makes no sense.
Yes.
There's like people have these bizarre motivations that are not spoken or understood in any way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, everybody hates each other now. Okay, go. It's like that. Like there's no real reason for this stuff happening. But anyway, so the lady in the wall convinces the one girl, oh, you should go back to Earth because your children are still alive on this Earth. And they died on your Earth.
And so's the other you as a
but she doesn't. She's like, oh, you need to go to them. And like again, I don't understand. There's a whole bizarre thing here where she's like, oh, I know there's another me there, but I have to go and save my children. What?
Right.
Well, what the fuck are you talking about? Like you just saw them on TV. They're perfectly happy. What are you talking about?
She's concerned because she essentially killed her own kids because she was trying to siphon free energy for them, and they end up dying because she's going to do the same thing.
That event has already passed.
Right.
And she's about to create permanent free energy.
Yes.
So what the fuck are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what her motivations were. They make no fucking sense to me. Anyway, so she gets convinced to go down to the planet by herself to go visit her children. And then the lady in the wall goes, okay, now she's out of the way. Now I'm going to go kill everyone else.
Right.
I don't understand what that motivation is either.
Well, because
what are you going to do?
They know how to do a stable piece instead of just sharing the information.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to give them the station.
Right. Because the station, again, they made this very clear in the beginning. And she's the engineer of this thing, so she knows exactly what this is.
Mm-hmm.
The one in space doesn't actually do anything. The one in space is the test to make sure that it works and get a functioning prototype, and then they start building them on Earth to give everyone free power.
They
The one
said,
up in the
here's
spaceship,
the data. Here's the data. Make it happen.
Right. If you have the exact specifications of how this needs to be built and how it will function, that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
The one in space is not going to help you if you have it physically or not, as long as you have the blueprint on how to make it. Yep. She had that. They were going to give that to her.
Mm-hmm.
Right, to save her planet. That they literally came out and said that.
Right, and we said, we're not taking you with us. We understand this is your dimension. You stay here. Here's the data. We're going away to save our Earth.
Right. Now, what the fuck is her motivation to start murdering people?
She goes, well, fuck that.
Right, yeah. Like, fuck you. Like, what do you mean? Didn't you love these people in the other universe? Well, yeah, but not these people. What? They're still the same people.
Even though you're exactly the same.
Right.
I told you that.
It's so bizarre. I don't understand the motivations of anyone after this point. It's like, I don't know, the film feels like it just fell apart. It was a tight, good film up until this point. Like, I liked it was great up until this point.
Yeah,
and then once this
killed
point
by
happens,
liquid metal. Like
once this point happens, it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, that guy dies. Whatever. I'll just start bitching right now. So then the guy goes, okay, well, the physicist and the lady in the wall have to work on the machine because they're the ones that know how. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the three of us have to go do the detaching, right? Yes. At no point does he do anything that requires more than one person.
Correct.
Why does he need three people to go down there to do a job he knew he could only do himself?
I
was like, why is that clear? Like, they go through this scene of them, we have to use these, tie-offs in space, and the doctor guy almost gets lost in space, blah, 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 blah. They get all the way to the end, and what's he do? He closes the door.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? Why did these people have to come with? Why didn't you just go do it yourself? It was so stupid. I don't understand what the fucking point of that was. Anyway. So the captain guy dies because he has to sacrifice himself to save everybody, right? The fucking doctor guy gets shot by Wall Lady. The physicist guy gets shot by Wall Lady. Anyway, so they fire up the fucking thing because there's only two of them left now. They fire up the thing. It works. Great. They go back to their own dimension. And then, I guess the world is saved, that she's coming back down to Earth, after they defeat Wall Lady, whatever. So she's coming back down to Earth, and then her boyfriend is like, oh, why did you tell her to come down here? You didn't tell her about the big monsters? You're like, what? And then as she's coming down, you see a Cloverfield monster head come out of the clouds. Literally. That's the tie. That's the tie into the Cloverfield universe. Is that somehow in that universe, the attacks that were happening, because they showed some attacks that were happening on Earth, but they didn't show you what was happening. It was just that attacks were happening. Mm-hmm. And they kept alluding to bombing and war, but they never said anything about a monster. And then all of a sudden, when she's back and she's coming back to Earth, after they just didn't warn her. Like, she only talked to her boyfriend? Like, where's fucking, Mission Control? Why wouldn't Mission Control say, hey, why don't you stay up there for a minute? Again, she's like, yeah, you need to send a rescue crew here now. I'm leaving. And she literally leaves the station unmanned with a running fucking,
mm-hmm. We also need
neutron bomb up there. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Again, this it hits that point. It hits that point. To me, is like the movie is good and tight and great up until when the the actual ring, that maintenance ring, blows up. And then once that ring blows up, it's like everyone just loses who their character is. Mm-hmm. And they just all become psychopaths.
Yes.
I don't understand what happened.
That's the paradox.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just I don't understand anyone's motivation. I don't know why anyone is even trying to murder anyone. Why would you try to murder anyone in this situation? That's not going to solve anything.
Correct.
I was so lost. I was lost the first time I watched it, and I was just whatever. Because I think I was drunk the first time. But this time I was very sober and very like upset.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, I got more stuff to bitch about, but I'm not going to do it right now. But yeah, that's what I got.
So we got your first thoughts here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a tight movie, and it's almost like they had to throw in a villainous human because there's always has to be one of those in these sci-fi things. There's always some crazy person in the space station, right?
Right, but you have to give him a motivation.
I mean, in theory.
Right. You know, like Event Horizon, right? Like Sam Neill, he was taken over by the thing, right? Like he was like shown visions and it fucked his brain up, right? That's why he was doing it.
Yes.
Done. Like that's all it takes is something like that. And in this one is like everybody just spontaneously decides to be completely idiotic. Like again, I'm sorry. The two that does make the least sense is the lady in the wall decides to murder everyone, and that's somehow going to save her world, which doesn't make any sense. And then two, the lady is I'm gonna go down to Earth and somehow take over from the other me, who's living a happy married life with children down there, so that I can somehow take my children back. And those aren't even your children.
Because she would want me to. They'd want me. They need their mother. Yeah, they have their mother.
She's like, I need to go down there and save them. I'm like, save them from what? What are you saving them from? And they're talking about, oh, well, you know, there was a fire that killed them. Like, yeah, that was in your past. That happened years ago. If it was going to happen in this world, it would have already happened. What are you talking about? You know, like, I don't understand.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was just so lost. I was like, I don't understand what the motivations of the two main like characters at the end are don't make any sense. And then the captain, like, oh, and the three of us need to go, and then literally nothing that happened that required more than one person.
Correct.
And he knew that. Just stupid.
All right. I will go first with my highlights. I know you like this. This is way more sci-fi. It is. It's also a sequel slash maybe prequel that maybe alluded to that they're the reason that Clover came to in the first place to the first movie.
No, I think it was saying because they were saying there's a bunch of them. It was saying there was more than one. So the one that attacked New York was obviously the first one.
Maybe.
So if there's more than one, it would have to be a sequel.
I also find it interesting though that because the reporter that was talking to Domhnall Gleeson, or whatever his name is, right, was actually the woman from that was outside Howard's bunker. It's the same actress.
Okay.
So maybe they're trying to say that maybe this is another dimension or alternate dimension to ours, and that she eventually becomes that woman outside the bunker. I could have seen them doing that.
I doubt it.
I
think they were just, it was either a coincidence or they just asked anybody else who wanted to be a part of it.
Maybe. I think Chris O'Dowd was perfect in this movie for his character. He played that character the way you expect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was a little light on the witty comments than he normally is. It was limited, but still great in the little bit that he had.
Yeah, I think his interactions with his own arm were perfect. You can easily see Roy
right
from the IT crowd being that. And I really wanted him as I was the first time I watched him, like, is he gonna say it when they couldn't get it? It's like maybe we should just turn it off and back on again. It'd been funny. I do like the idea of the quantum entanglement and the quantum physics that is theorized in this movie. It's an interesting thing that it's a newer field, but the idea of harnessing the power from a potentially different dimension, stuff like that, I do like it. So I like the sciencey part of the science fiction for this. That's what I have. How about you?
Yeah. So okay, well, I'll give the. I like the concept of it, like the whole energy crisis. You know, the with the collider trying to solve everything, and the world on the brink of war and stuff like that. I thought that was it's an interesting place to put the film, right? It just sets the stakes for what they're up against. It's not just this experiment; they're literally trying to save humanity. I mean the paranoia I think is good in the film. Like there's a lot of like, what the hell is going on? Who's working for who? Are these people changed? Are they different? Are they spies? Who knows?
Yeah.
I thought that was done well, and I appreciate the fusing of realities. I thought it was interesting. They did a lot of interesting things with things shifting. I think they could have done more.
Easily.
But it's very odd that like everything happened at that one shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the only other two things that really happened after that shift was both happened to poor Roy.
Yes.
And it was his arm getting stuck and removed, and then the weird like magnetic anomaly that came out of nowhere. Both of those things happened to him, and they were the only two events that happened post fusing that weren't directly related to the fusing.
Yes.
It's just odd that those were the only things that happened outside of that. But otherwise, I thought it was an interesting concept to fuse them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why don't you roll into your low points?
All right. So yeah, the fusing with tech. I mean, I don't know how that lady in the wall would have survived. Okay, like if you're fusing inside of a wall of a space station, do you know how many different pipes and wires and shit are in there? Like, yeah, I know she had like a couple of wires stuck in her leg and like a pipe in her shoulder, but like she would not have survived that. I'm sorry. There's way too many things in the wall.
That's for certain.
Yeah, like there's way too many things inside that wall. There's no way. But the concept of that was interesting and fun, I thought.
Yeah.
And the Chinese lady is annoying as shit to me because she's the only character in the film. Yes, I know it's an international crew, but the international crew would understand that they have to speak a language they all understand. And so they're talking to her in Chinese and English. She understands both, but she only speaks Chinese.
Yes.
Now, I'm almost 100% positive that the actress didn't speak any other language but Chinese, so they just let her always speak Chinese.
It's possible.
I think that's what it was. I think that had to be what it was, because she's the only character that they do that with. Like, one guy's German, one guy's Russian, and they don't speak their languages. They have accents, but they don't speak their languages.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One guy's from Brazil. He speaks English, right? Like everybody else speaks English, a lot, mostly without an accent. And then the one Chinese lady just refuses to speak anything but Chinese. And why they don't see that as like a jarring thing, I don't quite understand. But I didn't like that aspect of the character. I think like she's intentionally making herself an outsider on an international crew, and that's, we know you can speak it. Why don't you just fucking join in with everybody else? Doesn't have to be English. Just they should all speak to each other the language you get. And again, the fucking gravity, right? I don't think people understand how gravity works. Because like they were outside in open space and they were jumping and landing on things.
Yeah.
Like that's not how gravity works. Like that's not, I don't understand. Like they kind of made an offhand comment of like, oh, gravity's weird out there. Like, yeah, gravity might be weird, but it's not going to work exactly like Earth gravity does. Like, that's not what weird is. That's Earth normal. Why would that be the case in open space? It doesn't make any sense. But there's a lot of other scenes where they should not have had any gravity at all. Again, like how I was trying to look at how the space station was working, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they have the rings that are spinning around. How the fuck do the people get inside the rings?
You don't?
Right, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm watching it, like I'm literally looking at the like how this thing works. The rings are spinning inside of like a little metal holder.
Yes.
And where do you get in it? Because it's constantly spinning, and there's no like central point. They are offset. Right, so like picture like a nail, and then washers are touching it, but spinning outside of it. The nail at no point does not go through the washer. Okay, so
maybe
how
there's a retractable umbilical?
I'm just saying, like, if there's a central point that goes through all the rings, then there's a way to get into the rings.
Mm-hmm.
But like, they're just spinning inside of these little holders. How do you get in them?
I don't know.
Right. I'm like sitting there. I'm like, this design makes no sense. Like, you would not be able to get inside these rings. Like, you'd have to like either one, stop the ring to get in it, which would then deactivate gravity because that's why they're spinning. I know the person who designed this didn't understand that, but like, that's why space stations spin, is to create gravity with centrifugal force.
Yes.
Like, you know, I even like 2001 understood that, right? Like, we're in 2018 and we still like the people who designed this had no concept of gravity or why space stations are designed the way that they are. It was just this asinine design. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get too deeper into that. It was just really bothered me that the space station would not function the way that it was built. Again, I already talked about the 3 people needing to do a one-man job. Okay, like the Jensen, like, oh, she's mad at the other version of Schmidt, and yet she understands that this Schmidt is different, and he's actively fixed the machine.
Yes.
And actively helped her and given her stuff, and she's still going to go murder him for unknown reasons.
Because fuck you.
Yeah, and she's going to murder everyone else for, no reason. There's no reason for her to murder anyone.
Yes.
Just take your fucking blueprint, get in the fucking escape pod, get the fuck out. You're done. There's no reason to murder anyone or like try to trick people. It's just stupid. And then that tacked on ending, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is like literally the last like 10 seconds of the film. We see a Cloverfield head and it's like, really, that's it? That's what we're connecting to?
Yeah.
Stupid. Yeah, there's more, but I'm going to stop. Go ahead.
Yeah. I feel like this is a half-ass attempt to explain where Clover came from.
I don't think it is. Where would it have come from?
This other dimension.
They were fighting a ground war with other countries. They weren't fighting monsters. Where would the monsters have come from?
I don't know. It's the running theory is that Clover from the first one was the baby who's then searching for the mother because it's clearly bigger in this movie. That's the fan theory that has to exist to try to piece this together.
I'm sorry,
some
that
way.
Is a stupid ass fan theory. That doesn't make any sense. It's not based in any fact.
Oh, none of these scenes are connected to any.
I'm just saying we have factual information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one is that, you know, the monster in the first one was the first one that came. We know that. Because there was they were watching the news and shit and partying before then. There was no information about another one of these things happening. And 2, in this one, they specifically said there's more than one monster. They said monsters. They said there's these monsters that are all over the world, or the monsters are attacking everything. Whatever, I forgot what the line is, but they specifically said monsters.
Yes.
So we know there's more than one. Those are the only 2 bits of information about the monsters that we have. How would you get mommy and baby out of that?
I don't know.
One's big, one's little. I mean, how do you know that wasn't fog?
You don't, but they just said, oh, its heads are above the clouds.
Yeah, but what kind of clouds? Where are they at? Maybe it was smoke. We don't have any information other than it was white, misty stuff that it stuck its head through.
Yeah.
Again, that's the only information. We don't have any solid information. I hate when people come up with theories that are not based in any kind of fact. And then they make these assumptions and then they start building things on top of these assumptions. They do it all the time with these terrible franchises.
Well, someone has to try to piece this together.
No, you don't have to. There's nothing to piece together. Like, in the first one, there was one monster. The second one, there's no Cloverfield monsters. Apparently, these are allies of the Cloverfield monster. Who knows? We don't know anything. And then the third one is like, okay, there's more than one. That's it. That's all we got.
Yeah.
That may or may not be bigger.
Yeah. I'm surprised if they really want to tie it together, they didn't make the shelter to be Howard's. I think on this rewatch, I thought maybe it's to try to do something stupid like that. Like, oh, his buddy's Howard.
They were in England.
I know.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, like, I thought they were going to try to throw some stupid nod to that. Or like the same layout.
Jump on the Concorde?
Yeah.
Wherever the fuck the Howard was, he was in the middle of farm nowhere.
Between Baton Rouge and Houston.
Right. But like, how would you get to the UK to there? There's got to be bunkers in between.
Nothing in this movie makes sense. So
no, I'm not saying it does, but I'm saying like people trying to piece together these asinine theories out of information they don't have is not making it better.
Yeah.
Make them give you something that answers questions. If they don't, treat it like a David Lynch movie. You don't know, therefore don't try to understand.
Yeah. I understand that the hijacked and hacked the 3D printer, right? I don't think you can necessarily print 3D food as well as a gun with the same material.
Well, you can't. We also don't know that was the same 3D printer.
That's true, but
I'm assuming they have one for food and one for like tools and shit.
Yeah, that 3D printer though, that food did not look good. I couldn't tell if that was a bagel or a donut.
Well, it had a sticker on this side that said "worst bagel machine ever."
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it was a shitty
bagel. I would hate to be drowning in space and then instantly frozen.
She probably got off the easiest out of everybody.
Yeah.
Because you were instantly out. She's probably still alive. If you're flash frozen that fast, you're probably still alive.
Yeah.
Because they've had people that like literally like fall through ice and are submerged in water and freeze immediately, and they've like brought them back to life hours later. Totally fine.
Well, if that's the case, they just said, yeah, we need supplies. Not like, there's a woman frozen up here.
But like I said, the whole fucking thing, like, you would be blacklisted and never fucking hired by anyone ever again.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a functioning super collider and you say, "Oh, I gotta go," and you just fucking leave.
Yep.
What the fuck? Like, you don't even like, again, communicate with mission control. You don't tell them what happened. You just, I gotta go. I'll talk to you on the ground. No. No.
Shit, you fucked, yo.
Yeah. Holy shit, dude. Again, there's a point in the film that it's great up until that point, and then after that point, it's like they fired the writers and then brought in new, dumber writers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened, but like the last like quarter of the film just makes no sense.
Yeah, we keep getting setups to all these movies for a sequel that we never get.
Well, yeah, they keep like, oh look, Cloverfield still a thing, right? Okay, got it. When's Cloverfield 2 coming out?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. So just like this also set up, just like, okay, cool. Now what?
Right, and now it's since 2018. What have we gotten?
Nothing.
Right. What the fuck is this franchise doing?
Yeah.
Like, they made you wait 8 years, then they gave you a great film with a tacked on ending that somehow is supposed to connect to Cloverfield. Okay, thank you, I guess. And 2 years later, like, oh, look at this surprise movie that ties into Cloverfield. It barely does, and then nothing. It's been a radio silence since then.
Yep. Perfect. That's how you make a franchise.
Right, yeah. Good job, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it.
That all being said, how many tacked on franchise scenes out of 10 do you give the Cloverfield paradox?
This one is hard because, again, I really do like the film up until that dumb point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I call it like the point of no return, right? Like, after it gets past that point, everybody just starts making like decisions, like their brains got like, phased out of their head in the switch somehow. I don't quite understand what happened, but I do like it before that point. But I can't, in good conscience, give it a good score. There's too many things wrong. So I'm gonna go 5. 5 tacked on franchise scenes out of 10.
Yeah, this is I think the second time I've watched this movie.
Yeah, I've only seen it one other time when it first came out.
I mean, it easily the worst of the three, without a doubt. I've watched Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane a good number of times. I enjoy both those movies. This one, it's especially putting it back to back with everything else, you see it more flawed, I think. Like I said, when you have that much space between, you kind of forget about the other movies. So maybe that is a good marketing ploy. It's like, oh, you forgot about this franchise. You haven't watched it in a while. Here's a new one. Yeah, don't watch anything else before it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't have to.
Right.
I mean, like you wouldn't understand the meaning of the monster in the last 10 seconds of the third film, but other than that, there's nothing else that really ties in.
Right. So it's interesting. It's still an okay-ish movie. It has, as you said, it had great potential, huge potential, and yeah, it's the third act just falls apart. I mean, third acts are hard. That all being said, I will give this, let's say, 6 tacked on franchise scenes out of 10. Am I gonna watch it again? Probably not. Unless there's like the Cloverfield Paradox 2. I don't know. Maybe they'll watch it again, but we'll see.
Again, I mean, I'll watch it. Again, there's something interesting in all these films. I don't regret watching them. I think I regret watching the third one a second time. I didn't realize how dumb the first time was. I just knew I didn't like it, and it was very dumb and tacked on. This time, I was fully analyzing it, and it was bad. It did not pass any kind of tests at all.
Right. That's fair. All right. Anything else to add to the Cloverfield Files episode?
Nope.
All right. Well, we are craving some more Craven. Wes Craven, that is. We all screamed all we could. But before we have nightmares, we're diving into his other works. And that includes Deadly Blessings, The Serpent and the Rainbow, and Shocker. Which are, honestly, I'd say The Serpent and the Rainbow is probably a good known movie of his, but the other two, not so much.
The Shocker's pretty known.
But it's obviously not his, like, bread and butter that everyone knows him for.
Well, none of these are. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited. It's been a good while since I watched these movies. So I'm excited to dive into these. As I said, it's been a very long time for me.
So yeah, I just watched The Serpent and the Rainbow like a month ago.
There you go. It's interesting. I can't wait to talk about it. But remember, we watch bad movies, so you don't have to. And this has been Graveyard saying, have you checked on the children?
This is Salem saying, long live the new flesh.
Good night.